This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. A little bit more of an in-depth look at this guitar today. My latest acquisition is Squier Classic Vibe 50s Strat. Many of you know that I'm not the world's biggest fan of Strats. I don't dislike them, but it's just not really, shall we say, where my musical centre of gravity lies. But I decided I needed a Strat for doing sort of benchmark tests and stuff, kind of comparing other guitars to a known standard. So I sprung for this one. You may have seen on Thursday that I did my first impressions look at the guitar, which included my cover of what I think is a classic Shadows tune in that video. I'll link to that down in the description. I've got to tell you, that video did upset the copyright wombles a little bit, but, such is life. Anyway, I said that today it would be taking a little bit more of an in-depth look at this guitar, and that's indeed what we're going to do, starting, as always, by hearing what this guitar sounds like in a mix. And you could see which settings I was using on the amp there in that little piece. And as always, you will find a full tab for that piece of music in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it and the jam track to play along with. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description. $3 or £3-ish a month gets you access to all of these additional resources that go along with these YouTube videos. And a massive, massive thank you to everyone who supports me in that way or any of the other ways, all of which are down in the description, including the higher tier level of Patreon membership. $6 a month gets you all of that stuff, plus a twice monthly hangout on Zoom with me and the other tier 2 members, and some extra video content, reaction videos, that kind of thing that I'm putting up there sort of on a weekly basis at the moment. So thank you to everyone, as I say, who supports me in all of those ways. Let's take a little bit of a look at some weights and measures for this guitar. I'll put a link to the full spec down in the description, but you probably know everything you need to know already. These guitars, it's not like they've been not well documented before, but I'll stick it down there just in case you're curious. But here are the weights and measures that I took. You can see we have a weight of 3.36 kilos and a nut width of 42 millimeters, 42.2 millimeters. The expected Fender 9.5-inch fretboard radius, and then some pickup resistance readings starting at the bridge and working through the 5 positions on the switch. We have 6.37K, 3.14K, 6.02, 2.94 and 5.62K. So it's clear that, you know, we haven't just got generic single coils that are interchangeable. It seems because of the different resistance readings that the pickups are voiced, you know, specifically for that for each of the positions. Or maybe they're just not wound that accurately. I don't know. I prefer to believe the former. Whatever, it's excuse me. It's a very comfortable guitar to play. As you can see, let's put that back up there again. You can see the 1st and 12th fret neck profiles. You know, kind of a C-shaped neck, and unusually, I've never seen this mentioned before in review videos of this guitar, of this particular model, but the fretboard edges do feel slightly rolled. Not as pronounced as you would get on like a Squier S7, but it's definitely not just a corner when you get to the edge of the fretboard there. It's a little bit more forgiving than that. As I say, very comfortable guitar. The action is, I've just measured it, it's just between 1.25 millimeters and 1.5 millimeters at the 12th fret on the 6th string. It was higher than that when it arrived, but I went over all of the frets with a fret rocket. There are no high frets, so I thought, well, obviously there's scope to lower the action. I did, and nothing's choking out, nothing's rattling or buzzing or anything like that. And while we're on the topic of frets, this would pass the Phil McKnight sock test with flying colours. You know, I've played, well, maybe not USA Fenders, but certainly played Mexican Fenders with, you know, fretwork that wasn't as good as this, fret ends that weren't as good as this. So, you know, it's punching above its weight in that regard. So what does it sound like? Well, you heard in that little piece of music there exactly what it sounds like, but let's run through a few individual tones now in isolation. Let's point the camera down so you can see what I'm doing with the pickup selector. Starting at the bridge, I'm going through the vintage channel on the Blue Guitar Amp 1 as usual. Very sort of plexi-ish kind of tone. Starting at the bridge, with the volume all the way up, and the tone control, this back tone control here, really it's wired to the bridge. So I'll just show you a little reminder of how I dial in the tone control on a guitar. Turn it all the way off, so it's at 0, and then just ease it in as you're sustaining a chord until you hear it kind of do almost like a version of a wah kind of sound. It goes from the w to the a. That's where I always like to have the tone control set. I'll show you what I mean. Hear that? It's just where it just seems to add fatness. Electrically, what it's doing is it's removing treble, but the perception, to my ears at least, is that it's adding a sense of fatness. So with that tone control set as it is there, here are the 5 positions on the switch. And as you probably saw in that demo piece at the top of the video, this guitar really does clean up surprisingly well for a, you know, let's face it, a budget guitar from the volume control. I don't think there's a treble bleed fitted to this, but it still seems to clean up remarkably well. Let's try that right now. Just gives me that sort of nice kind of not quite clean, not quite dirty sound. It's clean enough to play, you know, kind of slightly more complex chords than just say kind of chunky power chords like this. But it's still got a little bit of fur around the edges. That's kind of how I like a guitar tone to be. I often find if it's just too clean, it sounds a bit clinical. If it's clean enough to play like minor chords and stuff, then you know, that's all I ask for, really. And I just think it tends to sort of sit in and mix a little bit better anyway. That's just my kind of preference anyway. So, you know, in terms of the tones, it's a Stratocaster. It holds absolutely no surprises, and it does exactly what you expect. Whether that is what you need from your main guitar or not is, you know, that's your call. As I've said, the whole kind of Strat thing isn't really where my musical centre of gravity is, but I am liking this guitar more than I expected. I'm liking it more than I enjoyed the Fender Player series that I had a few years ago, that was back in about 2021. Fair enough, that was the first generation of Player series Strats. I haven't tried any of the Player 2 Strats yet, but the reality of this guitar now compared to my memory from 3 years ago of the Player series Strat, so take that into account, is that I prefer this guitar. When I had that guitar, I found myself kind of wanting to like it, but not quite wanting to kind of enjoy it. And, you know, it was like, yeah, this is a nice guitar, but there was a lot of that going on, but I can't really, despite the fact that I haven't got 22 frets, which is something I usually get a little bit irrationally obsessed over, despite that, and despite the fact that it's got a gloss finished neck, which again is something that I wouldn't usually kind of opt for. It's not a deal breaker, but my preference is for satin. Despite all of that, I am really enjoying this guitar. I'm liking it more than I expected. Is that just the shiny new toy novelty factor? Well, perhaps. I'll probably do another follow-up video on this guitar in a few months, once it's been here a little while, and we'll see how often I'm reaching for it and picking it up. What I can tell you is that this guitar fulfills all of my Strat requirements, which are limited. As I say, I review guitars as part of what I do for a living, and often reviews need comparisons, and there's a good mate of mine lives round here who's probably been getting a bit sick of me going, Colin, can I borrow your Strat again? I've got a video to do. So that's partially why I got this guitar. As I say, it fulfills all of my Strat needs, and possibly, you know, if you're not looking for anything too specialised or niche in terms of what you want out of a Strat, this could fulfil your Strat requirements too, with one or two little mods, which I've already done. You can see it now sports a roller string tree up there, and the rather loose and rattly trem arm has been tret with some plumber's PTFE tape, so now it kind of just stays exactly where you want it. You're never going to play Eruption on this guitar, but for sort of Hank Marvin type wobbles, that kind of thing, it works really well. I've got one further mod to do to it. These springs in the back are you know, ridiculously stiff. So I've spent, I think, £5 on eBay on some slightly looser feeling springs that I'm going to replace these with, but they haven't arrived yet in time for me to do this video. But that will be the extent of the mods I'm doing to this guitar. You could go all the way through the electrics and upgrade the pots and the switch and everything, but as this isn't going to be my main guitar. My heart belongs to Telecasters and Les Pauls, it has to be said. And this is a guitar that I need on, you know, special occasions, if you like. So as it's not going to be my main guitar, I'm just going to leave well alone underneath here, because it does the job without screaming that it needs any sort of modifications. So there you go. That is my review of the Squier Classic Vibe 50s Strat in Fiesta Red, the Hank Marvin colour, no less. Make of it what you will. And that is the video for today, folks. Hope you found it useful and informative, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. And don't forget, as always, the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about stuff. Music, guitars, whatever, beer, sometimes we talk about that as well. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.